Navigate the shadows, embrace the light, and embrace the fog, or not.
It started on a Friday, like any other, except for the fact that I had just moved into an old apartment that seemed to be perpetually shrouded in dusk. The real estate agent had been charmingly vague about the place's history, claiming it was quaint and character-filled. I was in no mood for questions. After the passing of my mother, I needed a change of scenery, and this apartment, with its creaky wooden floors and vintage charm, felt like a fresh start. The first night, I was greeted by the usual array of creaks and groans that come with any building of that age. I tried to ignore them, telling myself it was just the settling of the structure. But then, around midnight, I heard something else. Muffled whispers. Barely audible. I figured it was just the neighbors, perhaps talking too loudly or with too thin walls between us. Still, sleep eluded me that night, as my imagination conjured up all sorts of sinister scenarios. The second night, the whispers were louder, more insistent. I decided to investigate. I wandered through the dimly lit hallways, checking each apartment door to see if I could find the source. None of the doors seemed to be open or ajar. As I walked past a full-length mirror that hung awkwardly on the wall, I noticed something peculiar. The mirror was clouded, and in the murky reflection, I could have sworn I saw a shadow moving just behind me. I spun around, but there was nothing there. The days passed, and the whispers grew more frequent. It wasn't just at night anymore. They started seeping into the day, becoming a constant, unnerving presence. I could barely focus on anything else. I tried to brush it off as stress-induced hallucinations, but then came the night I saw the reflection. It was late when I returned home, and the apartment was eerily quiet. I was exhausted, but sleep didn't come easily. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, when the whispers began anew. This time, they seemed to be coming from the mirror. I had to see it for myself. I approached the mirror cautiously. The whispers were almost coherent now, forming fragmented phrases that I couldn't quite understand. I leaned in closer, and that's when I saw it. A figure moving in the glass, a ghostly apparition with hollow eyes and a mouth that moved silently, as though trying to speak but unable to. I recoiled in terror, but the figure's eyes followed me, almost as if pleading for something. Desperate, I turned off the lights and stared into the darkness of the mirror, hoping it would all just vanish. Instead, the darkness seemed to deepen, and the whispers grew louder. They were no longer just whispers, but urgent, frantic voices screaming in unintelligible agony. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. I sat up, the echoes of the voices in my head, until I heard a loud bang from the hallway. I jumped up and found nothing. Just a quiet, empty corridor. The mirror seemed to mock me with its silence. I decided it was time to get rid of it. The next morning, I dragged the mirror to the curb, hoping that would end the torment. But as soon as I let it go, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The whispers ceased and the apartment felt lighter. Or so I thought. A few weeks later, while browsing through old family photographs, I came across a faded image of my mother standing in front of a mirror, almost identical to the one I'd discarded. The realization hit me hard. The whispers, the shadowy figure, they all trace back to something deeply unsettling. The mirror had been a conduit, an object tied to something far more sinister than I had imagined. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head. But late at night, when the apartment falls into that same oppressive silence. I can't shake the feeling that the mirror's curse hasn't left me. In the dark, I still hear the faint echoes of those desperate whispers. And sometimes, just sometimes when I glance at the blank wall where the mirror used to hang, I could swear I see something shifting in the corner of my eye. And I know that somehow, it's still watching me.